In the previous story, we saw how the therapist made contact with a weak spirit during a session. In his attempt to expel it from the body, he relied on prayer and trust in God Almighty. And, by the grace of God, he succeeded. In the end, the therapist was able to convince the weak spirit to repent and leave the patient's body. But the patient, he wasn't healed yet. There were still so many secrets buried deep inside. Many events, dangerous, extraordinary, were yet to unfold. This story, in fact, is one of the most profound I've ever encountered in my life. I lived it with my heart, and it taught me things I never knew before. The patient, whose name is Daniel Moore, described that the departure of those weak spirits from his body felt like a small victory for him, for his therapist, and against the dark forces that had plagued him. It was, in his words, a win against the sorcerer and the servants of that cursed magic. After the weak spirits were cast out, Daniel genuinely began to feel a sense of relief throughout his body. He explained how their presence had always disrupted his mental and emotional balance. And not only that, they fed off his energy. They consumed his food, drank from his water, leeching from his very life force. You ever see what some psychiatrists do? Daniel said. They use electric shock therapy for certain patients, and it's supposed to help, right? But sometimes, it just intensifies the energy flow inside the body in harmful ways. Makes things worse, confuses the mind, even causes hallucinations. When Daniel told this to his therapist, Dr. Jonathan Westwood, a seasoned spiritual healer based in Calgary, he was shocked by the reply. It was as if Dr. Westwood could read his mind, sense his emotions. I answered Daniel. Dr. Westwood later told me, next time you sit with your family during one of your sessions, pay attention. Ask, who's still inside you? Who's crying? Who's afraid? Ask the spirits in your body, who are they really? In the next session, he continued, I'm going to try and speak with the weeping one, the sad one, the broken one. Daniel recalled, I didn't hear anything inside me that matched what Dr. Westwood was saying. Like, who's crying? How could I even know that? Still, he responded honestly, wanting to keep the conversation going. To be honest with you, he told the therapist, I'm deeply sad inside, and it's been like that for a long time. I keep thinking of apologizing to people, even when I don't know what I did wrong. It's like something broke inside me. I don't get it. Everything in my life is okay, thank God, but I still feel this heavy sorrow. When I'm alone, I sit and pray. I cry like a little kid. I don't even know why. Dr. Westwood replied gently, that's sorrow. That's the spirit within you. It's sad, wounded, and it's crying. That's where those feelings come from. I'm going to record a special session for you now and send it your way. Listen to it carefully. Try to reach out to that spirit. Talk to it. Let it feel safe with you. Let it know it can trust you. Word has already reached it about the other spirits who were freed. That's going to help it'll give it more confidence. Daniel tried again to reach the spirit. He listened closely to the recorded session Dr. Westwood had sent, which included a specific message directed at the sorrowful spirit inside him. But honestly, nothing changed. He felt no response, no movement, no sign that the spirit had heard or cared. So, Daniel reached out to Dr. Westwood again. I didn't feel anything, he told him. Nothing at all. That deep sadness is still there, like a weight inside me. It won't go away. Every Friday, after attending the midday prayers at his local mosque in Calgary, Daniel had a routine. He would visit the cemetery, a sprawling garden-like field just outside the city with wide walkways and neatly separated paths. He'd go to the grave of his father, whose resting place was near the cemetery gate, close enough that he never needed to walk in too far. Daniel would stand there for no more than 5 minutes, offering prayers for his father and for the souls buried nearby. It was a habit rooted in remembrance and grief, something that helped keep his mind grounded on the afterlife. But something strange had begun to happen. Each time he visited the cemetery, Daniel felt a subtle movement within his body, nothing overwhelming, just enough to make him stop and notice. A twitch in his arm, a tingling in his legs. The cemetery had 3 separate entry points, one for men, where most burials occurred, one for women, and a third, mysterious gate that Daniel had never entered or even inquired about. Then came the day that shook him. Late Thursday night, Daniel received a call from his cousin. His aunt had passed away. Her body would be transported the following morning to Calgary for burial beside her family. That Friday morning, Daniel joined the procession. They carried his aunt's coffin through the women's entrance and into the burial section. As soon as he stepped foot inside the cemetery, an excruciating pain shot through his lower back, rendering him almost unable to move. That pain soon spread to his right arm. By the time he returned home, the sensation had escalated. His legs began to twitch violently, and then a severe headache struck the back of his skull. When Daniel relayed these symptoms to Dr. Westwood, the therapist responded without hesitation. These are classic signs of cemetery-bound sorcery ritual magic tied to burial grounds. You may have encountered something spiritual during the funeral. Dr. Westwood instructed Daniel to return to the cemetery if he could, to search for anything unusual, any clue. He also recommended a cold water rinse to ease the pain and agitation. Spirits like the one affecting you are often lodged in sensitive areas of the body. Cold water agitates them. It's why I advise anyone struggling with possession or dark energy to bathe in cold water whenever possible. Dr. Westwood sent Daniel a second recording, along with another message directed to the sorrowful spirit, hoping it might finally provoke a response. That evening, Daniel returned home with an even heavier heart. He felt the sorrow clawing at him from the inside, overwhelming and raw. He sat to eat, but the sadness only grew deeper. His chest ached with the urge to cry. He was breaking. Later, Daniel sat down to listen to the new session. About 15 minutes into it, nothing unusual happened. Everything seemed normal until halfway through. Suddenly he heard voices. "We want to leave. We want to leave." One of them cried. Daniel asked aloud, "Who are you? What's your faith?" One answered, "We are the weak among the Jinn who were trapped and tormented in this body. Among us are Muslims, fire worshippers, and Christians." He asked, "Do any of you know where the sorcerer's servant is?" The same voice replied, "I do." Daniel could recognize the voice. Now it was steady, composed. "What's your name?" he asked. "Abdullah," the voice replied. "Are you Muslim?" "Yes." "How long have you been in my body, Abdullah?" 12 years, he answered. "And how old are you?" 200. Daniel was stunned. He told Dr. Westwood later, who nodded knowingly. "That's not unusual," the therapist explained. "The Jinn live far longer than humans. 200 years is still considered young compared to the elders of their kind." In a later session, Daniel asked Abdullah, "Are you alone inside me?" "I am," he answered. "But my wife, she was taken hostage by the sorcerer. She's been captive for 12 years. Daniel asked what Abdullah knew about the servant of the sorcerer. "He's a powerful demon," Abdullah said grimly. "He sits on a throne-like chair, positioned in the lower spine, just above the sacrum. That's his hiding place, his stronghold. Sometimes he disappears from the body, leaving only an image of himself on the throne, like a placeholder." "And how do you know his location?" "I dwell in your right leg," Abdullah explained, "but I sometimes surge upward. That's how I saw him. Sometimes he vanishes, but his energy lingers like a shadow." Daniel pressed on. "How do we defeat something that strong?" "Anoint the back of your neck with olive oil that's been blessed," Abdullah instructed, "and perform cupping therapy. It weakens him." Finally, Daniel asked, "This sadness I carry, the need to cry constantly, what is it? Do you know if it's connected to the magic?" "Partly," Abdullah replied. That sorrow clouds your thoughts and your path in life. But most of it's mine. Some of the weaker spirits, those long bound by chains and shackles, had spent years in torment. Some screamed, others wept, their cries echoing through Daniel's body like a second heartbeat. And Daniel had felt their pain. Their sorrow had seeped into him, intensifying his own sadness and renewing his urge to cry for no clear reason. It was Abdullah, the Muslim Jinn, who shocked Daniel the most with what he said next. "Where exactly are you in my body?" Daniel had asked him. "In your stomach," Abdullah replied calmly. "You're sure?" "Yes. I'm settled deep in your abdomen." Daniel, under Dr. Westwood's guidance, began teaching the spirits the prayers of repentance, the supplications that dissolve chains and open spiritual locks. One by one, they began leaving the body. When it was finally Abdullah's turn to depart, he apologized. "Forgive me," he said softly. "Pray for me. Ask God to forgive me." And with that, Abdullah left, along with several others who had found the strength to repent. But even after their departure, Daniel's sorrow didn't go away. That gnawing feeling of brokenness still clung to him like a shadow. He informed Dr. Westwood of everything that had happened, including the conversation with Abdullah. The therapist nodded gravely. "This is exactly what I expected," he said. "That sorrow, you feel it, was never fully yours. It's the echo of a spirit still trapped inside, perhaps the one Abdullah mentioned. We need to try again. We must reach him." Dr. Westwood prepared another therapeutic audio session. This one, he explained, was specifically crafted to reach the chained, weeping Jinn, the one buried deeper than the others, the one who had never spoken until now. As Daniel listened to the new session, he felt something stir in his left leg, a subtle twitch. Then came faint voices. "We want to leave. Please, we want to leave." It was the weak ones, again calling out, begging. The liberation of their brethren had emboldened them. Daniel guided them as he had done before, leading them in prayer, inviting them to repentance. The exit, as always, began from his left foot, through the toes, then out of the body. Still, the sadness didn't subside. Daniel could feel it pulsing in his leg, like something had stayed behind. He thought, *, maybe some of them are still hesitant. Maybe they're afraid of the ones who guard them, *. Then he felt a different kind of movement, this time in the back of his head, near the crown. He reached back, placing his hand there the same way he had when sensing other spirits. He began reciting the prayers over himself, trying to draw out what was hidden. Suddenly, he saw it. A short, airy figure, pale and ghost-like, slipped from the back of his head. It flickered like smoke, faded yellow in hue, and vanished instantly, as though trying to hide or escape. Daniel completed the session and then prepared a bath. Following Dr. Westwood's advice, he filled the tub with cold water infused with boiled thyme and soaked for 10 minutes. Afterward, he anointed his head with blessed olive oil. An hour later, he looked at his legs again and noticed red welts and bumps appearing on his skin. He called Dr. Westwood immediately. "Don't be afraid," the healer reassured him. "That's actually a good sign. It means the magic, the dark workings, is starting to break. Those bumps will likely disappear by morning." And sure enough, when Daniel woke the next day, the marks were completely gone. Still, they hadn't yet reached the sorrowful Ginda one Abdullah had told them about. Dr. Westwood sent another session, hoping it might finally lead to a direct encounter. That night, Daniel listened to it at midnight. What he saw during that session was terrifying. The Jinn, the sorrowful one, finally appeared. He was screaming, weeping, writhing in anguish. His body was suspended in midair, bound with chains that wrapped around his arms and legs, his wrists pulled above his head. The sight of him was chilling, truly frightening in a way that Daniel could barely describe. Dr. Westwood's voice in the session softened into a compassionate prayer. He spoke gently to the tortured spirit, pleading for his release from suffering, offering him comfort and salvation. Daniel could feel the therapist's empathy, and as the spirit cried, so did he. He wept deeply, certain that the tears weren't his own, they belonged to the spirit he was seeing. Then the spirit spoke. His voice trembled, torn with pain. "My name is Mohammed," he said. "Are you Muslim?" Daniel asked gently. "Yes." "How old are you?" "I'm 575 years old." Daniel felt a sharp pain in his chest. "Before Abdullah found you?" "I felt overwhelming sadness. I didn't know why. I felt broken, like my spirit was crushed. Why are they doing this to you? Why are you being tortured like this?" Muhammad looked down, his face distorted by suffering. "They burn me," he whispered. "Who does?" "There are others," he replied, tears in his eyes. "And my wife. She was taken to—" "Why?" Daniel asked Muhammad, the tormented Jinn, his voice trembling. "Why all this punishment? What did you do?" Muhammad's answer was quiet, but heavy. "My wife and I. We were among the weakest of the Jinn. When I saw others escaped, the ones who repented and left the body, tried to do the same. I spoke with many of the other weak spirits. I encouraged them to leave. I wanted us to be free, like the others. But they found out," he continued. "They caught my wife and chained me. They burned me as a warning to make an example of me for the rest, so that no other weak Jinn trapped in this body would dare attempt an escape." Daniel felt his heart sink. "You have children?" he asked. "Yes," Muhammad said, voice breaking, "but they're with the sorcerer. That's why we were captured. That's how they bind the pacts of dark magic. They take our loved ones, wives, children as hostages. Some lost only their wives. Others lost their entire families. It was how they guaranteed our servitude. We were forced into this body, enslaved by fear." As Muhammad spoke, writhing in invisible chains, Daniel felt the weight of his words, the agony of a spirit shackled in flames. "Did you ever see the sorcerer?" he asked. "Yes," Muhammad said bitterly. "I saw him. He's a disbeliever. I watched him bow to Satan." Daniel was stunned. "But the man you're talking about, isn't he the same one who leads prayer in the mosque?" "That's the one," Muhammad confirmed. "He pretends to be pious, but he's a liar. I saw him with my own eyes, bowing not to God, but to the devil, and the one who guards the magic, the servant." Daniel pressed. Muhammad's voice turned colder. "He's a demon, one of the worst. They tortured me so I'd become an example, because the escape of the others had weakened the magic. You see, the weak Jinn are placed inside human bodies to safeguard the pacts of black magic. When they leave, the spells begin to crumble. The sorcerer loses control." Dr. Westwood, after hearing everything from Daniel, confirmed what he already suspected. "The magic is unraveling. The strength of their hold is breaking. There's chaos among them now, inside your body. And if we can rescue Mohammed, that sorrowful Jinn, it may be the final blow." To do that, he crafted a powerful therapeutic session, stronger than any before. This one combined verses of mercy and punishment, light and fear, compassion and warning. The goal: to break Mohammed's chains, free him from the torture, and drive out those who had been tormenting him. Before listening, Daniel prepared himself. He washed his body with blessed water mixed with salt, then anointed himself with black seed oil, enhancing the olive oil's properties. From experience, he knew black seed oil irritated the spirits more intensely. He waited until midnight, the hour of stillness and supplication. As the session began, Daniel listened intently while reciting prayers in his heart. But this time was different. These chains, Mohammed's chains, were not like the others. The prayers alone didn't loosen them. Daniel repeated the supplications, pleading with God, invoking his names, until slowly, finally, one of Muhammad's legs was freed, then the other, then his arms. Bit by bit, the chains loosened, cracking under the pressure of Daniel's desperation and faith. Maybe those chains were enchanted, Daniel thought. Then, With all the force he could muster, he recited the verses again, and we placed before them a barrier, and behind them a barrier, and covered them, so they do not see. May their faces be disgraced. May their faces be disgraced. The faces shall bow to the ever-living, the self-subsisting, and doomed is the one who carries injustice. A wave of intense cold surged through Daniel's nerves. He recited the exit prayers again, guiding Muhammad toward release. The spirit's departure was agonizing. It felt like thorns were being torn from Daniel's soul, like something ancient and painful was being ripped away. But by the grace of God, Muhammad left the body completely, painfully, finally, the following day, just before noon prayer. Dr. Westwood sent Daniel a new session, this one directed not at the Jinn who had been freed, but at the guardian of the magic, the dark enforcer, the servant of the sorcerer. And what Daniel witnessed shook him. In the vision that came during the session, Daniel saw a towering figure. Its legs were grotesquely long, almost goat-like, and it sat arrogantly upon a throne, regal, yet monstrous like a self-proclaimed king. It smirked, laughed even, as it heard the healing verses. But then, something changed. The laughter died. The arrogance collapsed. The figure began trembling. It bowed, prostrated before a shadow greater than itself. A looming presence engulfed in darkness, impossible to define, as if wrapped in night itself. It radiated authority, judgment. Daniel couldn't tell if it was a king, or something worse. He watched the demon grovel at the feet of this higher being, shaking in fear. It was as if the failure to contain Muhammad had brought divine retribution upon it. The moment burned into Daniel's memory. He reflected quietly. We humans, we trust too easily. We believe the best of people, and sometimes we don't even realize that those closest to us were the worst masks. In our culture, we open our homes with good intentions. We greet guests with wide hearts, especially when it's a first meeting, perhaps even the beginning of a bond between two families, for something as meaningful as an engagement or a marriage. Of course, in such cases, you go above and beyond. You treat guests like royalty. You welcome them with grace and generosity. But sometimes, things don't go the way you expect. Sometimes, what should be a moment of joy becomes the start of something dark. What begins with smiles can end in betrayal. And tragically, even the noble ritual of two families meeting for engagement can become a doorway to envy, malice, or even sorcery. That's how it began for Daniel Moore and his family. They were planning an engagement for Daniel's eldest son, Eli, who was only 19 at the time. The girl seemed lovely. Her family, on the surface, appeared well-mannered and decent. That's what they were told, anyway. So, as tradition dictated, Daniel and his wife did everything right. They invited the girl's family over for dinner, treated them with utmost honor, and welcomed them as close friends. They had no idea what they were really inviting into their lives. I'm not exaggerating, Daniel said later. We went above and beyond lavish food, open hearts. We even considered them part of our inner circle. But we didn't know what was happening behind the scenes. That first night, they had invited the girl's family over for dinner after evening prayer. Daniel personally greeted everyone, hugging the bride-to-be's father warmly. They all gathered in the men's sitting room, where the mood was celebratory. But things quickly turned strange. During the gathering, the bride's father leaned over to Daniel and, in front of the boys, made a comment. "If you ever want to marry again," he said with a grin, "I could find you, the best woman." There was something in his look unsettling, charged. Daniel didn't know how to respond. The suggestion felt invasive and inappropriate, especially considering his love for his wife. "I told him plainly," Daniel said, "I love my wife. I couldn't marry another woman, not even in theory. I'd be doing an injustice to both." Shortly after, the man excused himself to the bathroom. The guest bathroom had been built especially for visitors, located at the edge of the house. and he stayed in there for a long time. Strangely, he had done the same thing on previous visits, slipping away around mealtime, always disappearing into the bathroom. Daniel thought little of it then, dismissing it as odd but harmless. Only later did he learn the horrifying truth. Sorcerers, especially those tied to infernal pacts, sometimes use the private spaces of others like their bathrooms to perform dark rituals. Rituals of control, rituals of spiritual sabotage, rituals of binding a household. Later, the same man invited Daniel and his family to his home. The house was humble, isolated, almost like a small farmhouse in the woods. Despite the eerie setting, the Moors accepted. What followed was 13 years of escalating tragedy, financial losses, legal threats, court battles, near imprisonment. Daniel's life had flipped upside down. His personality shifted. He was no longer the man his family had once known. "I don't even know who I became," he confessed. "I kept marrying and remarrying, and I had no reason for it. I loved my wife. I was never the type of man to betray her. I wasn't that man. But suddenly, I was doing things I couldn't explain." Women began approaching him with marriage proposals. He started considering polygamy, something he'd always rejected. And with every decision, more chaos followed, more destruction. Still, his wife stood by him. She never asked for a divorce. Instead, she urged him to be fair and just. But Daniel felt lost, as if something else had taken the wheel. "I felt like I wasn't even steering my own life," he said. "Like I had no will, no choice, no control. That's what it's like to be under a spell." Dr. Westwood, who had become Daniel's closest friend and spiritual guide, was deeply familiar with the situation. Their bond went far beyond therapist and patient. They were brothers in struggle, and because of that trust, Daniel was able to share everything without shame. In their sessions, Dr. Westwood worked tirelessly to uncover the hidden forces plaguing Daniel's body. One by one, the spirits were identified and cast out. Then came one especially unusual session. Daniel had received a new healing recording from Dr. Westwood. As he played it, something strange happened. 10 minutes in, he felt a heavy silence, no sound, no vision, no sensation. Then, abruptly, a wave of pain struck him. And then he saw her. A tall, beautiful woman, wearing white, her long arms exposed, chest partially bare, began dancing in front of him, swaying from side to side. She wasn't human. Her beauty was eerie, almost hypnotic. Daniel couldn't believe what he was seeing. There are people in this world who don't know how to bless others. They see someone with a good life, a happy family, a healthy body, and instead of saying God bless, or what God wills, they glare with bitter, burning eyes. And in those eyes lives envy. Not the casual kind. Not the "I wish I had that too" kind. No, poisonous envy. The kind that curses. The kind that doesn't need a spell or a ritual. Just a look, born of a diseased heart. In my work, I've treated many people who believed they were afflicted by black magic. They showed all the signs: depression, physical pain, chronic setbacks. But when we dug deeper, we discovered the truth. It wasn't sorcery. It was the evil eye, and not even one tied to a Jinn servant or curse. Just pure, focused envious, sometimes from people they knew, sometimes from strangers, sometimes even from family. Unlike sorcery, which usually involves rituals and the help of spiritual servants, envy can strike on its own. And unlike magic, you don't always need to know how to undo it, but to treat it. You must identify the source who cast it, and from what place in their heart. In cases of sorcery, we can detect the dark energies and neutralize them with sessions built on divine verses and blessed oil. But when the issue is envy or the evil eye, you need something else. Sometimes, we need an object touched by the envious persons, something with their saliva, or even water they used to bathe, and if you're lucky, With persistent treatment and prayers, the afflicted will recover. Daniel, the patient, explained it well. There's a huge difference between reading about something and living it. One moment, your life is structured, peaceful, full of joy, and then chaos. Your thoughts become scrambled. You fall into deep sadness. Your chest tightens. Mental illnesses start creeping in: depression, anxiety, even obsessive thoughts. You don't know where the darkness comes from, but it surrounds you. For some people, it goes so far, they lose control completely. Some lose their faith. Some lose their sanity. Others, God forbid, even take their own lives. Daniel now realized that he had misunderstood the root of his pain. I used to think everything happening to me, my ruined relationships, my financial loss, the chaos in my house, was because of black magic, he said, but I was wrong. He learned that, while sorcery had played a part in his downfall, the real, most dangerous force in his life had been envy. It was envy that had seeped in through the cracks through people he had trusted, people he had loved, friends, neighbors, colleagues, even family. He recalled how he had once reunited with his healer, Dr. Westwood, during a trip to Mecca. It was the beginning of his awakening, and even though they later lived in different countries, thousands of kilometers apart, the two of them stayed connected through therapy sessions and healing recitations shared via. Their bond had become more than professional. It was spiritual, and thanks to that guidance, Daniel was finally able to say it aloud. Yes, there was magic, but the real killer was the envy, the burning eyes, the bitter hearts. Dr. Westwood never ignored sorcery, but he always knew the deeper danger. You can treat sorcery fairly, easily, if you know how, he explained. But envy, that's different. Envy can hide. It can creep into your life in silence. And once it's there, it spreads like fire. That's why many of the sessions he sent Daniel focused on healing from envy and the evil eye, not just through recitations, but through cleansing and ritual purification, over and over. And it worked. In time, Daniel came to realize just how many people had harmed him through envy. He once asked Dr. Westwood for advice. "Can you help me figure out who's done this to me?" The healer told him to write a list. Everyone he suspected, everyone he had crossed paths with, who had treated him with jealousy, hostility, or hidden contempt. Daniel took the assignment seriously. He sent back a full list, names of people close to him, old friends, distant relatives, even business contacts. Around that time, he had also hired a female lawyer to help him manage several legal issues involving his second wife. She was highly skilled, precise, and always delivered results. In a time when everything in his life was crumbling, she was a breath of fresh air, calm, capable, loyal. And she knew everything about him. She knew he loved his wives deeply, yet she often criticized them in front of him, subtly sowing seeds of doubt. She seemed attached to him, almost jealous of the love he showed his family. At times, Daniel felt drawn to her emotionally. Other times, he sensed something strange in her presence, something that made him wonder. "I respected her," he said, "but something didn't feel right. It was like she cared too much." Eventually, their direct communication ceased. They continued to work together, but only through phone calls. When Dr. Westwood asked him again about people who might have envied him, Daniel included her name on the list. Daniel had written down the names of everyone he suspected might have envied him, even the people he once dismissed. And then, at the very end of the list, he added her name, the lawyer. He almost didn't include it. She'd helped him. She had supported him during a difficult time. She'd never said a cruel word to him. On the contrary, she had always seemed kind. But something inside him whispered not to overlook her. So, reluctantly, he added her name to the list and sent it to Dr. Westwood. When the next healing session arrived, Daniel was stunned. Her name, the very last one on his list, was among the first mentioned in the recording. He began to feel sick. As soon as Dr. Westwood recited her name, Daniel was hit with dizziness so intense he could barely sit upright. A deep pressure weighed down on his legs, as though invisible chains were pressing him into the floor. He fought through the session, but when it ended, a strange sensation took over his body, his intestines filled with gas, unlike anything he had felt before. And then he saw it, a giant eye forming in his vision, not metaphorical, not symbolic. A literal, glaring eye, vivid and disturbing, appearing across his right hand. An eye so large and intense, it felt like it was watching him. He messaged Dr. Westwood in alarm. The healer replied immediately. "This is part of the cleansing. You've disturbed the envy. It's fighting back." Another session followed. Again, the woman's name was mentioned, and again Daniel felt the crushing pain in his chest. His head felt like it would burst, his eyes strained, his forehead tightened, and then came the purging. First, through tears, then through intense spitting. Mucus and saliva poured from him until he was physically exhausted. His jaw ached. His legs went numb, like they had been submerged in boiling water. His teeth began to chatter uncontrollably, as if he were freezing in a snowstorm. His vision blurred. And then, he saw him, a Jinn, male, not hidden, not whispering. This one was active, reading alongside Dr. Westwood in the session, holding a staff in one hand. The man struck the giant eye with the staff, over and over. With each blow, something black and sticky burst from the eye, thick and heavy, like tar. Daniel felt it in his own body. A deep, draining fatigue swept through him. His muscles ached, his right thigh throbbed. He took a photo of himself in the moment and sent it to Dr. Westwood. "This is part of the release," the healer responded. "Don't stop. Keep going." And so he did. Over and over, Daniel repeated the invocations taught to him. "Leave eye of name. O Allah, release her envious gaze. O Allah, destroy the dark waters of her eye. Come out, soul of envy. Expel the darkness of her evil eye." The more he prayed, the more intense the symptoms became. He finished the session in a state of near collapse. He couldn't speak. His limbs trembled. The pressure behind his eyes was unbearable. When he finally managed to ask Dr. Westwood about the figure he had seen reading beside him, wielding the staff, the healer simply replied, "That was one of God's soldiers." That night, Daniel dreamed of Dr. Westwood and another man arriving at his home in a car. They both got out. Dr. Westwood approached him and spoke calmly. But the second man walked away, silently. Daniel told the healer about the dream. "Could it be related to what I saw in the session?" he asked. Dr. Westwood paused, then replied, "It might be. God works in mysterious ways." The following day, he sent Daniel a short, urgent healing session. It wasn't calm or soft. It was forceful. It was a threat. A spiritual warning aimed directly at the envy. The eye panicked. Daniel felt his teeth clench again. A loud guttural growl burst from his throat. Gas surged through his stomach. He felt deep tremors in his left arm, and strange scratch-like marks appeared on his skin. He asked Dr. Westwood, "Is this retaliation?" The healer replied, "Possibly, but it means they're weakening." This time, the treatment wasn't just verses. It was war. The session fluctuated between tenderness and threat, between mercy and divine wrath. Dr. Westwood used every tool: encouragement, anger, repetition, command. And they stare at you while they cannot see. And they stare at you while they cannot see. The verse repeated over and over. And each time it did, Daniel coughed violently. Thick saliva poured from his mouth. His throat was raw. His hands weakened so much, he could barely lift his phone to play the session. But he didn't stop. Because now he knew. He knew what had almost ruined him. What had turned his peace into chaos. It wasn't a curse. It wasn't sorcery. It was a woman with burning eyes. Daniel had been exhausted for days. The treatment sessions were getting heavier. His body and spirit felt drained. As he played the new healing session, he drifted into a state somewhere between sleep and presence, drowsy, but fully aware. Then came Dr. Westwood's voice, clear and commanding. "Oh, eye of name, come out." Every time the phrase was repeated, Daniel felt his chest tighten. He gasped for breath. "She sees the beauty of your wife, but wants you," Westwood recited again and again. The words hit Daniel's core. His legs burned like they were boiling. Then he heard her. A woman's voice. "I want him. Yes, I want him. His wives don't deserve him. You think I'll ever let you go? I've prepared worse for you than anything they've done." Suddenly, the Jinn with the staff, God's soldier who had appeared before. This time, he spoke. "Listen, don't speak. If she contacts you, ignore her. If she tries to meet you, don't go." Daniel didn't know exactly what he meant, but the warning was clear. Voices swirled around him. His stomach turned with violent gas and pressure. His legs felt like they were going to explode. He saw the Jinn again, staff in hand, pressing the end of it against the edge of the spiritual eye. The eye grew redder and redder, more enraged by the second. He couldn't hear what was being read, but he saw the power in the Jinn's eyes. They burned like fire. "It's going to burst," the Jinn said. "It's going to end. They'll be gone." The session ended, and Dr. Westwood sent another one the next morning, this time aimed at drawing out the lover Jinn, the one who was obsessed and envious. As Daniel listened, he saw himself in a dark tunnel. No sounds, no movement, just darkness. Then the movement began in his face, then across his entire head. A voice whispered, "She's hiding." When the session ended, Daniel's stomach bloated with gas again. Red welts and bumps appeared on his scalp. His back itched fiercely. That night, Daniel made a resolution. He would pray through the night and ask God to expose her. He had suffered enough. According to Dr. Westwood, the appearance of welts and skin reactions was a clear sign. The evil eye was unraveling. It was preparing to exit. So he sent Daniel a focused, targeted session, and it worked. The lover Jinn appeared. She wore a black robe, seductive and defiant. She danced and sang. Her beauty was sharp and theatrical. She tried to tempt him just like the woman with the evil eye had once done. Then, the Jinn with the staff returned, majestic, radiant, terrifying in presence. This time, he didn't wait. He grabbed her by the neck with his staff and struck her again and again until her head was severed, and her body collapsed into the black spiritual eye, as though it had been swallowed. Only her legs remained visible for a moment, witching then still. She was gone. Daniel gave thanks. "God protected me," he whispered. "He sent his soldier, he ended her, and I'm free." The Jinn turned to him again, urgently, rapidly. "Repeat after me," he said. "O Allah, close my body. Do not allow any envy, evil eye, or Jinn to enter again. O Allah, turn my body into fire for anything that tries to enter. Let them burn before they even touch me." Daniel repeated every word with tears in his eyes. The Jinn placed his hand on Daniel's chest, nodded, and vanished. "You'll never see me again," he said. And Daniel never did. Dr. Westwood confirmed it. That was God's soldier. He taught you how to seal your body, how to restore your spiritual immunity. A body touched by sorcery or envy becomes open, vulnerable. But now, it's closed. That morning, Dr. Westwood sent a long healing session. Daniel played it immediately. Within minutes, every dark force still lingering inside him erupted in panic. The zombie demon in his head, known for grunting and growling when wild. "I closed the body," Daniel shouted. "You can't enter anymore." The demon screeched, threatened, shook him from inside. But Daniel reached up, placed his hand on his forehead, An asterisk held him there. Asterisk. I'm not afraid of you anymore, he whispered. He pulled. The spirit emerged like smoke, small and gray, trying to re-enter through Daniel's left arm. But asterisk, it couldn't. Asterisk, it tried again through the right. Asterisk, still blocked. Asterisk. Daniel knew then. God had sealed him. Dr. Westwood later said, "You've learned one of the rarest spiritual tools, how to close the gateways." For years, Daniel had avoided eye contact with Dr. Westwood even over video. His eyes always dropped to the ground, too heavy to look directly into the healers. But that day, something changed. For the first time, Daniel could look straight into his eyes, calm, confident, unafraid. "We've done it," he said. "That demon is gone." And Daniel smiled not with pride, but with peace. Don't forget to share your own scary stories in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.